I never thought one phone call, one stupid, careless phone call, would change everything I believed about my marriage. But that morning, everything shifted. Everything cracked. Everything opened my eyes. My name is Ariana, and this is the story of the day I realized that the man I married was no longer the man standing in my house. It happened on a Tuesday, a normal Tuesday. I remember because I had woken up earlier than usual, around 6:10 a.m., to prepare for a presentation at work. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels peaceful if you trust the people inside it, but heavy if you don't. Back then, I still trusted him. I slipped downstairs quietly, not wanting to wake my husband, Daniel, who usually got up around 7. The air smelled like fresh laundry. I had washed all the sheets the night before. The soft winter light slipped through the curtains. The whole house felt calm and safe. If only I had known. I made coffee the way Daniel liked, 2 spoons of brown sugar and a small splash of almond milk. I wasn't planning to bring it to him, but it was habit. I never realized how often I made him comfortable, even when I was running on fumes. Maybe that was my first mistake, loving someone who thought comfort was owed to him. I stirred the coffee, but something outside caught my attention. Footsteps, heavy ones. They moved across the upstairs hallway. Daniel wasn't a heavy walker. If anything, he dragged his feet when he was half awake. These footsteps were quick, sharp, purposeful. I frowned, set the mug down, and listened. A door closed. Then, silence. I slowly made my way to the foot of the stairs. The house was dark except for a soft glow from our bedroom. I could hear Daniel's voice, distorted, hushed, tense. He was on the phone. I wasn't the type to eavesdrop. In 8 years of marriage, I had never once listened behind a door or snooped through his messages. I believed trust worked both ways. But something about that voice, sharp, stressed, desperate, froze me in place. I took one quiet step up, then another. His words became clearer, not the full sentences, just parts. She won't notice? Just a week or 2. I'll handle her, Mom. Yes, the room is ready. My heart dropped so fast it actually hurt. Mom. Room? Ready? What room? Why wouldn't I notice? And why did he sound like a teenage boy trying to sneak someone in while his parents weren't home? I pressed my back against the wall, gripping the wooden railing so tightly my fingers turned cold. Daniel's voice lowered again. No, she doesn't need to know everything. I'll tell her after you move in. I heard nothing after that. My ears were ringing. The carpet felt uneven under my feet. The air tasted stale. After she moved in, into my house, into the home I paid half the mortgage for, I stepped back down one stair, but my heel caught the rug, and I stumbled, lightly. The sound was barely a muffled thump, but Daniel froze mid-sentence. I heard the bedside lamp click off. Ariana, he called. I rushed back to the kitchen before he saw me, grabbing the coffee cup and pretending to be busy. My hands were still shaking. He walked in wearing pajama pants and that careless expression he always wore in the mornings. But his eyes were different, wide, alert, a man who had something to hide. Hey, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. You're up early. I had work, I said softly. And you? The question wasn't innocent. He heard it in my tone. His throat bobbed. Oh, nothing, just checking emails. At 6:30 in the morning, in the dark, whispering. I nodded as if I believed him. I didn't. But I still handed him the coffee. He smiled. He didn't deserve it, but I gave it to him anyway. That's the thing about betrayal. It never hurts as much as the moment you realize how blind you've been. He kissed my forehead and went to shower, and I stood there, staring at the empty staircase he had walked down, thinking about every moment I had tried so hard to make his mother love me. 8 years of trying, 8 years of bending, 8 years of being the bigger person, as he always told me. 8 years of giving up pieces of myself so his mother wouldn't think I wasn't good enough for her son. I spent our early days being warm, polite, helpful. I cooked her favorite meals. I visited her every Sunday, even when I was exhausted. I always bought her thoughtful birthday gifts. I kept her included. But no matter what I did, she always found a way to make me feel smaller. She would look around my house and say, this place could use a woman's touch, while I stood there thinking, I am the woman. She would whisper to Daniel when she thought I wasn't listening, telling him things like, Ariana is soft, and you need someone stronger if you want a real family. She even once said I was too independent because I had a full-time job and refused to ask her for advice on every little thing. Daniel defended her every time. She's just old-fashioned. She doesn't mean anything by it. You're reading too much into it. I believed him. I forgave them both, because I wanted peace more than I wanted to be right. But that day, listening to him whisper that she would move into my home without telling me first, something in me snapped. Not loudly, not violently, just silently, like the last thread of rope giving way after years of strain. That entire morning at work, I couldn't focus. The presentation I had prepared wasn't important anymore. My marriage was no longer just a marriage. It had become a slow, quiet trap. He was willing to bring his mother into my house without telling me, hide it from me, lie to me, deceive me, humiliate me. Why? Why was her comfort more important than my trust? Why did he think he could make such a decision about my life without including me? Why did he believe I would just accept it, like I always had? By noon, I knew something for certain. I was done being silent, done being the flexible one, done being the soft one. If Daniel wanted to play his little secret game, I would show him I had my own, one he would never see coming. When I came home that afternoon, he was strangely cheerful, almost lighter. It was the guilt. Sometimes guilt makes the betrayer glow, while the betrayed person fades. Dinner at Mom's tonight, he said casually, not meeting my eyes. That said it all. She knew. They had planned it together, behind my back. I smiled, a real smile, not forced, not pained, because by then, I had already decided something. If they wanted to move her into my house, then I would make sure they would never get the chance. Not through screaming, not through fighting, not through violence, but through strategy, through calmness, through the truth they thought I didn't know, and through one final decision that would change everything. Silence filled the kitchen after his mother finally walked upstairs, her steps heavy, her breathing sharp, as if she had just lost a battle she wasn't ready to surrender. The moment her door closed, Daniel turned back to me, but this time he didn't look angry. He looked cornered. I leaned against the counter, arms folded, watching him slowly walk toward me like someone preparing for a confession he didn't want to give. He ran a hand through his hair. "Why are you doing this?" he whispered. I raised an eyebrow. "I could ask you the same," he sighed, frustrated. "You're pushing her out. You're making her uncomfortable on purpose." "And you lied," I cut in softly. "On purpose." His jaw flexed. He didn't deny it. I watched him carefully, trying to read his face. For years, I believed I knew him better than anyone. Now I wasn't even sure I knew half of him. He finally sat on a chair, elbows on his knees, head hanging low. "She had nowhere else to go," he muttered. "That's not what you told her on the phone," I replied. "You told her you'd fix it, that I wouldn't know anything." He closed his eyes. "I didn't want you stressed." I laughed, quietly, bitterly. "Stressed or angry?" He didn't answer. "That's what I thought," I murmured. The next days felt like living in a silent war zone. His mother followed me everywhere with her eyes, judging, measuring, waiting for the moment she could strike again. She made comments under her breath, suggested changes around the house, criticized my cooking, my cleaning, my routine, everything. Sometimes she didn't speak at all. She would just stare. But Daniel? He barely looked at me. He walked with the guilt of a man who didn't know how to fix the mess he created. And I didn't help him. I wasn't cold, but I wasn't soft either. I simply stopped carrying the emotional weight of the entire home. I only spoke when necessary. I only cooked for myself. I only did my chores. I stopped trying to please anyone. And that alone drove his mother insane. One morning, after another uncomfortable breakfast where no one spoke except the sound of spoons touching plates, she snapped. "You know," she said sharply, "a real wife wakes up before her husband. A real wife cooks for the whole family. A real wife shows respect." I set my cup down slowly and looked straight into her eyes. "And a real husband," I said calmly, "doesn't lie to his wife." Daniel froze. Her face tightened. "He only lied because you're impossible to talk to." I smiled, a small, slow smile that made her recoil a little. I stood up, leaned forward slightly, and said, "Then it's a good thing I'm done trying to impress anyone in this house." She gasped like I'd insulted her honor. Daniel rubbed his temple, overwhelmed. But I wasn't done. "And if you think being loud or dramatic will make me bend," I whispered, "you're wrong. I've bent enough." She narrowed her eyes. "You think you've won just because you're pretending to be confident?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She stormed upstairs again, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. Daniel sighed and looked at me with a strange mix of sadness and fear. Later that afternoon, I found him sitting alone on the back porch. The sky was cloudy, cold wind brushing across the yard. He looked like someone who had been carrying secrets longer than his shoulders could hold. I sat across from him. He didn't look up. After a long pause, he finally said, "You're different." "I'm tired," I whispered. He nodded slowly. "I know." Another pause. "7 years ago," he began, voice shaking. "When we almost broke up. Do you remember why?" My heart tightened. It was the first time he mentioned it in years. "I remember," I whispered. "The night his mother tried to break us. The night he let her talk to me like I was nothing. The night I almost left him for good. But I never learned what exactly his mother said to him after I walked out crying. I never asked, and he never told me. That night had been buried between us like a dead star." He finally looked up at me. "My mother told me you were planning to control me," he said, voice trembling. "She told me you wanted the house in your name. She told me you'd leave if I didn't give you everything." I stared at him, stunned. "Daniel, I was 19, I whispered. "I didn't even know how house papers worked." He winced. "She told me you were tricking me," he added. "She told me you'd ruin our family." I felt something break inside me, not anger, but the painful relief of hearing the truth after years of silence. "And you believed her," I said quietly. He swallowed. I didn't know what to believe. I looked at him, really looked at him. "Did you ever trust me?" I asked. He opened his mouth but closed it again. His silence was my answer. I sat back and breathed deeply. "So, that's why she feels so comfortable talking to me like this," I whispered. "Because she's been poisoning you against me since the beginning. And you let her." He stared at the floor, ashamed. "It was easier," he admitted. "She's my mother. I thought, if I made her happy, everything else would be easier." My heart felt heavier than ever. "So you made me the problem," I said softly. He didn't deny it. I rubbed my arms, shivering from the wind and the truth. "Daniel, do you know why everything feels off right now?" I asked. He looked up slowly. "Because I'm finally seeing what our marriage really is," I whispered. "And it's not a partnership. It's me fighting for a place in my own home." He closed his eyes, guilt washing over him like a wave. "I'm sorry," he whispered. But sorry was too small for the years I spent being criticized, doubted, and left alone to manage a home that wasn't even fully mine. At night, things grew worse. His mother stayed awake until late, pacing upstairs, opening doors loudly, making phone calls, as if she wanted us to hear. One night, I caught her staring at our bedroom door. Not knocking, not speaking, just staring. Her eyes were cold, like she had a plan forming in her mind. It reminded me of something Daniel said years ago. "She just wants to protect me." But protect him from what? From me? From the wife who cooked, cleaned, supported, forgave, and almost lost herself? Protect him from having a life that wasn't controlled by her? I started noticing other things too. Her suitcase wasn't just clothes. It was full, everything she owned. Daniel said she was visiting for a couple of nights. No. She came to stay. She came to take over. She came to push me out again. And this time, I wasn't 19, confused or naive. I wasn't going to be broken. One evening, Daniel came home later than usual. He looked exhausted, like someone carrying the weight of his mother's expectations on one shoulder and the weight of his guilt on the other. "We need to talk," he said. I nodded. "Then talk." He hesitated. Too long, too careful. "She needs us," he began. "She's going through a lot." I stared at him. He stared at the floor. "Just say it," I said softly. He exhaled. "She should stay with us. For a while." And just like that, the last piece of the puzzle clicked. The secrecy, the calls, the suitcase, the behavior, the past from 7 years ago repeating itself. He wanted her here, not temporarily, not as a guest. He wanted her here as part of our home, permanently. My voice came out calm, steady, almost cold. "So you want me to live with the woman who tried to ruin our marriage?" He flinched. "I didn't say that. You didn't have to." He rubbed his face, stressed. I can't throw her out." "And you think I should throw myself out instead?" Silence. He didn't even realize how deep that silence cut. I stood slowly, looking down at him. "For years, I tried to keep this family together," I whispered. "But I was alone in that effort." He didn't stop me. And that was the moment I knew. My revenge wasn't going to be loud or dramatic. It was going to be silent, calculated, sharp. A woman's revenge built on truth, not anger. A revenge that would end everything he and his mother thought they controlled. A revenge that would change everything. The house felt strangely silent the morning after Daniel finally admitted everything. A silence so heavy, it sat on my shoulders like a weight I had carried for years without noticing. Except this time, it wasn't painful. It felt like the calm that arrives after a long storm has finally stopped destroying everything in its path. Daniel had slept on the couch, not because I asked him to, but because he knew I didn't want him beside me. He didn't even try to come upstairs. When I walked down the stairs, the first thing I saw was him sitting up, elbows on his knees, face buried in his hands. The moment he heard my footsteps, he stood quickly, his eyes anxious, swollen, almost desperate. "Emily, he said quietly. My name sounded different. No pride, no pressure, no command, just fear. Fear of losing me. I walked past him and began making tea. He stayed behind me like a shadow afraid of disappearing. "Please, talk to me," he whispered. I finally turned around. He looked like a man who had aged 10 years overnight. "You didn't talk to me when you made your decisions," I said softly. "You didn't talk to me when you made your plans. You didn't talk to me when you lied." He swallowed hard. I know I failed you. I know I treated you like you didn't matter. But I'll do anything, Em. Please, just don't end us like this." I took a deep breath. "I'm not ending anything today," I said. His hope flickered. "But I need you to listen. Really listen." He nodded quickly. Almost too quickly. He was terrified. "I need space," I said. His face fell. "But where will you go? What will you do? Please don't leave yet." "I'm not leaving the house," I said calmly. "You are." His lips parted. He stared at me as if I had slapped him. You want me to leave our house?" he whispered. "No," I corrected. "I want you to leave my house." He blinked. What do you mean?" I walked to the small drawer under the staircase. I pulled out a folder he had probably forgotten existed, because most men like him forget anything that does not serve them. I placed it gently on the coffee table. His expression slowly changed. Confusion, realization, fear. "Emily, the house papers." "Yes," I said. "The house is in my name. You signed it over to me 3 years ago when you needed that loan from your company. Remember?" His face went pale. I remember the day he came home desperate. He needed immediate proof of stable family assets. He asked me to transfer the house temporarily under my name for the process. But I never transferred it back. And he never noticed. He trusted me not to betray him. Funny how betrayal works. "You tricked me?" he whispered, voice breaking. "No," I said quietly. "You tricked me first. You planned to bring her here. You planned everything behind my back. I simply decided I would not let you destroy the only home where I ever felt safe." He sank onto the couch, burying his face in his hands again. Not dramatically, but like a man who finally realizes what he has been taking for granted. Please, please don't do this to us," he whispered. "I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. But I love you. I always loved you." I shook my head slowly. "You loved the version of me that kept quiet. You loved the me who said yes, the one who took care of everything, the one who smiled when your mother insulted her. You didn't love me. You loved the convenience of me." He lifted his head, eyes rimmed with red. "That's not true. I was stuck between both of you. I tried to keep peace. I didn't want to disappoint her." "You disappointed me," I said gently. Silence. A silence that wrapped around us like a truth we had avoided for far too long. I walked to the window and pushed the curtains open. Weak morning light spilled inside, cold and soft, without warmth, like us. "Daniel," I said, still looking outside. "Twice this week you chose her over me, not in an argument, not in a moment of pressure, but in a plan, a deliberate, structured plan. You invited her into our life without asking me, you lied, you manipulated me, and you expected me to just forgive everything like I always do." He didn't respond. He couldn't. "I want you to leave for a month," I said. "Stay with your mother, stay in a hotel, stay anywhere, but not here." He stood abruptly. "Emily, please, How can you even ask me to leave my marriage like that? We can fix this. We can talk. We've talked for years, I said softly. You just never listened. He blinked hard, as if absorbing a truth he had always refused to accept. But what about us? He whispered. There is no us if I cannot trust you, I said. And right now, I don't. He walked closer, slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. I'll do anything, he said. Therapy, counseling, boundaries with Mom, anything you want, I'm begging you. I met his eyes. They were filled with fear. The fear of finally losing control over a woman he always assumed would stay, no matter how many times he hurt her. I know you're scared, I said softly. But this is not punishment. It's clarity. You need to feel what I've felt for years. The feeling of being small, powerless, and unimportant. You need to feel the consequences of choosing someone else over me. He reached out as if to touch my arm, but I stepped back. Go pack your things, I whispered. His legs seemed to weaken. Please. His voice cracked. But I didn't repeat myself. I walked past him, up the stairs, to the bedroom where I had cried so many nights alone. He didn't follow. He knew. He finally understood. It took him 2 hours to pack. I didn't come downstairs. I stayed in the bedroom, folding laundry with shaking hands. Every sound from downstairs hurt. The quiet zipping of a suitcase, the drawers closing, his footsteps slowing as if hoping I would change my mind. But I didn't. When I finally walked down, he was waiting near the door. He looked at me with eyes full of heartbreak, real heartbreak. And for the first time in years, I felt nothing. No anger, no sorrow, just peace. Emily, he whispered. I'm leaving my car here. I'll take a taxi. If you need anything at all, just call me. I nodded but said nothing. He hesitated, staring at me like a man trying to memorize someone before losing them forever. I will come back better, he said softly. Please, don't give up on me yet. I opened the door. Cold air rushed in. He stepped outside, and with one last painful, longing look, he walked away. The door closed behind him with a quiet click. It was done. The next hour felt like breathing for the first time. The house felt lighter, warmer, cleaner, like it finally belonged to me. I sat on the couch, pulled my knees to my chest, and let the silence fill the room. Not the heavy, suffocating silence from before, but a peaceful one, a silence that felt like beginning. After an hour, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Daniel. I'm sorry, I'll make this right, I promise. I didn't reply, not out of anger, but out of strength. A soft strength born from years of being quiet, a strength he never expected from me. That night, I slept alone in the bedroom. For the first time, the bed didn't feel empty. It felt mine. I woke up to sunlight. Real sunlight. Warm, gentle, soft. I walked downstairs, made breakfast for myself, and opened the window. A breeze swept in, fresh and calm. A new beginning, a quiet revenge. Not loud, not cruel, not violent, just powerful. Because nothing hurts a man more than losing the woman he thought would never leave. And nothing heals a woman more than choosing herself, after years of choosing someone else. As I sat with my tea, I whispered to myself, I'm finally free. And I was.